The following is a Productions original series.
Hello and welcome to Walk and Roll Live. I'm Doug Vincent, joined by Addie Rich.
Yep.
Wake up. Our podcast is dedicated to amplifying the voices of the disability community. I am a polio survivor, and Addie
Has cerebral palsy.
How was your week, Missy?
Oh, my week was a busy thing. I am in town. I'm in California right now.
You're on the road again.
I'm on the road again. Well, I'm stationary at my mom's house, but I was here to do auntie duty for my best friend's twins who graduated high school. So, and my nephew turned 16. So every day from like Wednesday through yesterday, we had some event or something. There were 14 people actually at my bestie's house.
Yeah,
all to support the twins in their graduation and stuff. But it was a lot of like later nights and early mornings trying to work and attend everything. So I'm glad that's done. But I'm super glad to be here, and I was happy to cheer and yell for them.
So just a little refresher if people haven't heard every episode of Walk and Roll Live, and why haven't you, first of all? But,
I know, for real.
But Addie has worked remotely for years and years and years, even predating, all the madness of COVID and everybody learning Zoom. Yeah, so a long time before. So she has the luxury, I guess you could say, right, of being able to go wherever she wants to go, whenever she wants to go, and still work, But when she's on the West Coast, that means she has to get up, 3 in the morning? Or
3:15.
Be ready to work by 3:50.
No, I get up at 3:15 to be there by 3:30. When the alarm went off this morning, I stood up immediately out of bed and would not allow myself to press any buttons because last Thursday I thought I had snoozed, and my mom came in and was like, "Are you going to work?" I was like 45 minutes late, so I was like, "Okay, today I'm just going to stand up immediately."
Not take any chances.
Not take any chances for oversleeping.
So then you're off work by 12, 1 o'clock,
12.
something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, 12, 12:30. But then, catch a cat nap, come to do a podcast.
Right.
But it's kind of grueling to do it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the good news is probably, differently than your last trip that you were on with the convention or the conference and all that. Probably not as much alcohol consumption this past week.
Definitely not. Definitely not. That's not part of this trip so much.
Very good.
So running around. The hermit in me had to get outside every day.
So all the big activities are all done. And now when do you go home?
Next Saturday at 5 in the morning. I like early times apparently, so I'll get to the airport around 3 o'clock.
So so this is one of those things like, do you put the toilet paper in with the roll out or the roll in? But because some people say next Saturday when they mean this Saturday.
This coming Saturday. The 14th.
See, so next Saturday is the Saturday after this Saturday to me. But I know there are two ways of looking at that.
The date is
the date is, All right. Very, very good.
But no, it was really great. I'm happy to be here. How about you?
Kind of a typical week, and all the other things that I do. But the big highlight was Randy Plummer, if you remember him from a few months back. We interviewed him, and it wasn't anything definitive, but all the circumstantial evidence kind of pointed to a post-COVID vaccination reaction, and he lost the ability to walk, and it's kind of come back, and now he's walking. He still uses crutches to keep himself stable and all that. And if you remember, he was going to college. He's studying for ethnomusicology, and he's Native American heritage. So they invited his mom, contacted us, and invited me and a couple other people from Possibilities to go to the ceremony.
So fun.
Yeah, and it was awesome. It was awesome. So we go and we sit, and it's a small room, but packed. There was probably 6, 8, 10, somewhere in the neighborhood. Banquet tables all full of people, and And it's all about, and this was from what they called the NASP, which is Native American SP. I can't remember what that stands for, but it's their support system. Yeah. At the University of California at Riverside. And so it was him and 4, I think, other honorees. And so everybody's gathering. It's kind of a cocktail hour and everybody's mixing. And so the ceremony starts. And the first thing we do is everybody gets up and goes outside where they had this, kind of an area with a huge mature oak tree, lawns, landscaping. And so we all formed a big circle, and they had, one of the elders that did a little ceremony with smoke. And,
how cool is that?
Walks around the circle and is explaining how, in that culture.
Yeah, I forget what it's called because I go to the powwows.
Yeah.
But it's like a call-in or something where you basically talk to nature about we're going to do this thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And they encourage, he's walking around with this thing smoldering to waft the smoke over you as part of that ceremony, and it washes you. And so that was awesome. Then we go back in and kind of go through the whole ceremony, and they've got beautiful Indian blankets that each graduate got, but each one was different and all that. So you could tell he was thrilled. It was a surprise. His mom didn't tell him he was that we were coming. So we surprised him, and he was just so moved by it. So
I would have cried like a baby the whole time.
I might have teared up a time or two.
We know you did.
But check it out. I put it on the website on our events page. So there's a number of pictures. And what? One of the cool things too was there was a gal sitting next to me at the table that was, I'm peppering her with questions all night. What does this mean? What does that mean? What is it? Yeah. So it was a bird song that she was calling it, that they get together and they did several. And then they kind of act out. And you've seen this dance before if you've ever gone to a powwow or anything. Yes. Where they kind of imitate the movements of a bird. And
super interesting. Yes.
So, it was awesome. And the kids are there. The little kids are there introducing them to all this stuff. And you can see how generational it is. Every age group that was there, you could tell they were very, very close and tied to that. So
I love that.
So Randy, if you're listening, thank you for, and Carol, thank you for inviting us and allowing us to be a part of it. That was awesome. So good times. Walt Escamilla, our guest from last week, want to thank him for coming on and sharing his whole story. I know this is, as effervescent. I don't know if Walt's ever been described that way before, but as he is, we see that this can be a difficult transition in life. I think we all get that. And even him, had his dark time that passed, and, now he's trying to help everybody else through that. Yeah. That dark time. So appreciate him coming on and sharing. And thank you for listening yourself. And if you wouldn't mind taking a moment out right now while you're thinking about it, kind of like Addie got up this morning and got to her feet so she couldn't fall back asleep. Just hit the
exactly.
And where's this going?
Press all the buttons.
So just hit like and subscribe and share and all those things. Please, please, please. We appreciate it. Trying to grow the community and get the word out for what we're doing here to more and more people. Coming up today, we've got an interview with Kat Paz.
Kat Paz.
And Doug is so slow on the uptake. I take forever to figure these out. I had a friend, they had a dog named Diogi.
Okay. Dog.
I didn't get that for months.
A dog named Dog?
A dog named Dog. So you got it immediately. But that's me. Yeah, I think on the interview you guys had to explain it to me. It's not spelled that way, so that's what tricked me.
Yeah, it's not. she tried to help.
I'm used to it. I've been this way my whole life. So she compiled a book and of people with disabilities that are entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And we'll talk about it and how did they find themselves to be entrepreneurs? Were they entrepreneurial? Did they run up to roadblocks and getting benefits? All those things we'll talk about all that, and that's coming right up. But first, we're going to check out Ugyar Professional Training and learn what they're all about.
At Ugyar Professional Training, we know that your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is essential for your business's success and growth. To achieve new heights, it's important to hire intelligent, talented individuals and empower them to excel in their areas of strength and passion. UGYAR is committed to transforming your employees into happier, more productive, and fulfilled individuals. When your team thrives, your business prospers. Wise leaders understand that providing team members with opportunities to shine in their strengths unlocks untapped potential. Elevate your team with UGYAR professional training and witness the growth of your business.
You're listening to Walk and Roll Live Disability Stories.
It's a disabled life, rolling along, leaving my struggles behind, feeling strong. The road ain't easy, but that's just fine, 'cause I'm living my truth, walking my own line. Life is full of joy, I wouldn't change a thing.
Well, welcome back to Walk and Roll Live. Let's start with an introduction. We'll let you do that, Kat, an author, writer. So just your name, kind of where you're from, and if you have a disability, we like to share that with our audience as well.
Absolutely. My name is Kat Paz. No, that is not P-A-W-S. I am not a meow meow, literally. My last name is Kat, P-A-Z, pineapple zebra, and it means peace in Spanish, and is really close to the Latin root, if you will, of Pax. I am originally from Manila in the Philippines, and we migrated to the U.S. a couple of decades ago. And we now live in the Bay Area in California. That is my story. I do not have a disability. And I know there's a screeching halt that I can almost hear through the podcast with.
Well, in every disability it comes in degrees, right? So you are wearing, some glasses. So welcome into the community.
Absolutely
able.
Big why with everyone here. And it's quite a compelling why. The disability world is what I grew up with because my only sibling is neurodivergent. And I understand what it is like to have a family member, a very, very close family member, who is in fact a member of the disability community. He is my why. And I have been challenged on this before. I am not a flash in the pan passion project person helping the disability community. This is part of me. Yeah. This is not a simple, she's going to quit in like 2 weeks. That was it.
So has this project been kind of percolating for a while in your mind and now it's coming to fruition, or? I'm
not going to try to be long-winded here, but let me tell you that I have been wanting to write a book for at least 10 years. And I would start and stop. And for everyone out there, I know that there are people in this world who are frustrated writers. There are people who have an idea, the idea fizzles out. There are people who go 67%, 75% of the way and abandon the projects. I was trying to write a leadership book for a very long time. How to be a leader when you're told that you're too sensitive. And this had been playing for years and years and years because it was close to me and some feedback I've gotten through time. But it's so funny. One day I was part of a sales challenge, and just from reading different things, an accumulation of different pieces came together. And I thought, I would love to write a book with disabled entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
A couple of things came up because I don't think that people in general know how common entrepreneurship is in the disability community and why entrepreneurship is so common. Hint, hint, it's because doors are shut in people's faces and they don't have a way necessarily to move forward, but to take the reins in their hands and become entrepreneurs themselves.
Yes.
I think it's something I read originally when you reached out to me. There were some, and I don't know if it's all of them in the group because it's a compilation of different stories, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I got the impression that there was some frustration, let's say, among some of these people with, getting through the whole process of getting benefits, maybe not being satisfied with, the level of benefits you could get. and your quality of life are tied to that. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. And I'll touch on it in two different ways. There's always the challenge of making enough money to make a living. And then there's always the balance of, at least in the United States, being able to still get and avail of benefits that the disabled are eligible for.
Yeah.
So what I can say, there's always the frustration of the money not being enough. There's also the balance of, if I make more than the maximum amount of money, I will lose my benefits. This is always a little dance that people have to be cognizant of. But that's why there are certain legal ways to be able to make enough money through a company or corporation. Disclaimer, I am not a lawyer.
Right. You are a smart woman who has learned a lot through time. However, we cannot call it legal advice.
Don't call it legal advice, but the information is out there. But yes, there are people that you can reach out to. There are people who have navigated quite successfully through making a decent living, surviving, and still getting their benefits.
Well, that's a wonderful nugget right there. Just that there is a possibility, another alternative to getting around some of those things.
Absolutely.
That hold people back, right?
That is an option.
Yeah.
Right? Still not a lawyer, but just saying. Yeah,
So-
I think that is hard because it sounds weird to say. This is a funny thing to say, but it's your body already gives you a certain quality of life with a ceiling, right? And then circumstance in life gives you a quality of life and a ceiling. It's like, oh, no, your dreams can only be so big, because many of us are like, our brains are way wilder than our bodies might allow, right? But also many of us are alive because we say, screw that, we're going to live anyways. But then if you're someone who's like on benefits or whatever, you don't have the extra income because your medication or your wheelchair or X, Y, and Z costs so much that it's not like, oh, I'm going to Mexico because I have extra money.
Absolutely. And Addie, this is such a big topic. There's that whole piece of some of people with disabilities having certain, Chantel Sumis, one of our authors, calls it spoons. You only have so much energy in a day, and where do you dedicate your spoons of energy to? Right. There's also the piece of, what if I need mobility aids? And my life is dependent, my independence is hanging in the balance based on these tools, but I can only get it if I fulfill X, Y, and Z. And then I'll also slip this in. There are people out there who have invisible disabilities.
Yeah.
Who may not self-identify as disabled because they're afraid of the stigma. They're afraid of the work discrimination, if you will. And they're also afraid of falling into basically the myriad of problems that they could get if they self-identify. There's, oh my God, you just opened a little bit of a Pandora's box in here. So we'll just peek and then close it for now.
Yeah, right? Like,
and stereotypes too. How you're treated because of stereotypes. Yeah.
Ooh, yes, absolutely.
I mean, Doug and I have talked about that over and over and over again, because if you look at my resume, I have a master's degree. I've done a lot of things and all that. But then I walk in and you're like, oh, whoa, can she do that? And you're like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, it's interesting to watch humanity try to be non-judgmental, but know that their bias and judgment hit it hard. And that's why you don't have that job.
Addie had to talk me off the ledge here a couple of weeks ago. I went to the doctor and the doctor asked me, who do I live with? And I got to tell you, Kat, I am a guy that does not get triggered when it comes to my disability. People say things to me and I just let it roll off. I don't care. I mean, I've had far more blatant, far more, far worse things said to me, but that one got in my kitchen. I tell you.
Yeah, that one took a while of, hey, it's okay. They probably didn't mean it that way.
It's stirring up again, you can tell.
Yeah, right. I'm like, breathe.
Yeah, it's okay.
And Doug, I realized that you were the interviewer in this case, but mentally, how did you move past it eventually?
I don't know if I have totally.
I was going to say, has he? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And it's such a little sentence, but there's so many things that are implied in that sentence. At some point, I have to admire for her to craft a sentence that has so much in it that she's not aware of,
Yeah.
She assumed that I didn't live alone, which I do.
Couldn't live alone. You read it as I couldn't live alone. Yeah.
No,
Also, right?
no. See, you're getting started here.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm sure she does not pose that question in that way to somebody who she perceives as able-bodied.
Yes.
Well, that's
I'm
what
positive.
I'm saying is she's implying that you couldn't do it.
Right. Oh, you're saying she, yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
she was implying that
But
in
you
in
couldn't.
the question, and you were like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah,
I know.
your
I was like, you're already
interpretation.
wound up because you didn't.
All right. Hopefully bring Doug back down. Okay.
Ben.
You know how this goes. This is such a common story.
Yeah.
Doors shut in faces, judgments being made all the time based on a perceived notion, especially for people who cannot hide their disability. Hard stop.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and how does that feel for you as a sibling, Kat? I mean, obviously it kind of pushed you to this, right? So how does that feel for you to watch your sibling be judged in a way that I don't even know how to phrase it per se, but it pushed you to this point where you're like, let's do this.
Angry, really, really angry. And sometimes I need to take a step back and try to put myself in the shoes of the other person of the conversation, and try to explain, hey, this is the situation. And this is why my brother acts in a certain way. And I'm sorry, the term really is deal with it.
Yeah.
But I first go to anger. I then have to reflect and maybe come back to a situation to go, let's have a chat about this. Or when I see that something is about to fall apart, to take, let's say, a person at a restaurant aside, one of the servers, and say, by the way, he's special needs. So if there's anything, we'll walk through it together. We'll work through it together.
Yeah.
I need to remember the humanity of circumstances. And sometimes it's hard because I'm human and I'm trying to protect my sibling.
Yeah.
My brother essentially is operationally between 9 and 12 years old.
Yeah.
And he always will be. And that doesn't mean that he doesn't get hurt. That doesn't mean that he doesn't get deeply traumatized and offended by certain things that are said or done. And I've always been the mama bear, mama hen, whatever mama you want to insert into the story. But I, as time has gone on, I've realized I need to put myself in the shoes of the person on the other side of this to be able to understand where they're coming from. And I can move this forward in a positive fashion versus me just reacting and being angry, because that's where I would almost always go in the past.
Sure.
Right, which is like a big thing because my mom always says that like anger is sadness wrapped with spikes. And so it's really that you're sad and frustrated that somebody's misjudging the situation, right? Or like that they don't even get it. And so it's just easier to just be like, oh, I'm going to punch you in the face rather than like, oh, this is, this sucks. So, I mean, that's mature on your part to be like, woosah, I'm not helping the situation if I deck her. Let me try to figure out how to work.
I might feel a little better, but
right.
But the two of you, it's taken a while to get to this point. It's taken a lot of reflection.
Right. But I mean, bravo to you to work on that, right? Because some people would just be like, well, it's just easier to be a firecracker, tell everybody to kiss mine, and But your brother still feels it no matter how you react, right? Like he is still stuck in that wedge no matter how we take it on.
Absolutely. And he most likely will not fight for himself.
Yeah.
And so when Doug said that he was offended, I was thinking, I hope that he fought for himself even a little bit, because to the doctor, there is the what needs to be said, and there's how you say it.
Yeah.
And the how
delivery.
The world.
And that is the, definitely when I thought about it, I knew she just needed to be educated, about how that question comes across. I don't think she meant anything, by it. She, thought that was a perfectly fine question. She just has no idea. So, but I haven't had that opportunity yet, but I definitely will.
You'd be like, hey, can we talk about it? Do you need me on speed dial? So when it all falls apart, you could be like, she'll tell you what I'm trying to say.
Now, you put me on speed dial and I will have
Right, we'll take Kat.
I've been driving long enough that I predate placards, So when, it's like you were saying, when the placards first came out, I thought I should be the police and police everybody else that, was either parking in them with no placard, or if they didn't appear to me that they really needed one, there were times when I would, say something. And after a while, I just realized that, it's not my place. This is the way I put it in perspective for me, is that there are people speeding down the freeway. I don't go around and try to stop them, so it's just a degree of somebody not adhering to the law,
Right.
whether that's, the way to look at it, but it helped me deal with it, that I can't go around doing that. And people don't listen anyway.
Yeah.
People don't listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the book.
Oh,
I know.
sorry.
Let's get back to the book.
This is so good, though.
I love this conversation though too.
These are common pain points. But yes, the book.
Yeah.
We were able to gather 12 entrepreneurs, all people with disabilities, representing 5 countries.
Wow.
All over the world. Yeah, right?
So was there like even a bigger pool of people and you had to narrow it down to this many, or?
This is so funny. My original brainstorm for this was to have 33 entrepreneurs. And at one point I realized maybe I should stop at a certain point and call it a date and just say, all the authors we have at this point will be cut off. We can always have other volumes.
Right. Smart.
That's what I also realized, that if I got as many as 33 entrepreneurs, that might become a little bit unwieldy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever met an entrepreneur in their brain? Let's just say you might have lots of cats in a bag.
And I realized that's just like people management. You have to in a bag. But I also needed to be cognizant, which I wasn't in the beginning, that, girl, you've never done this before. What are you thinking?
Yeah, right.
Well, that's the thing.
was-
If you think of things like that, nothing would ever get done. No, so you just got to jump in there.
Exactly. Right. What are you thinking? And this is just a little fun fact. Out of all the 12 authors, I have only met one of the 12 in person.
Oh my goodness. Okay, cool. Well, technology, right? Like, look at what technology can do. We're all hanging out with each other. You can meet those people. How did you, out of that 12, how did you say, okay, you guys are the 12?
That's a good point. Essentially, I reached out to people and people referred others. That's how we got the crew that we got. I didn't necessarily look at people's coverage of their business. I didn't look at people's disability. I let people in just knowing after speaking with them. It was all about connection and knowing if they would fit within the dynamic of the group.
No, that's perfect, right? Like, you have to have the mojo where it's, you can poison the pot with one drop. So
with one drop, that could have gone all dry. And at the end of the day, I don't think I've ever said this at any other interview. There's a part of me that's in awe that it got done.
Right? You're like, come on, you squirrels. We've got to get over here. And you're a squirrel too, because you had the idea. Yeah.
Just getting it all together and learning. Miss Addie, you understand this much more. All the authors out there, all the publishers out there, you know what this is about. But for the regular person, it's like, oh, I can write a book too.
Yeah.
I can do that.
That's easy. Yeah. No.
Right? That's nothing. But when you get into the intricacies of what it actually entails, to the cover art, to the editing, the planning for the marketing, up to meeting the two of you as part of PR and publicity, this is not a walk in the park. There's a bunch of steps and a bunch of interconnected pieces that you need to throw into your bag of cats.
And you're learning along the way, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, I learned. And that 80% of what I did was really part of the role of a publisher. Like, oh, that's so cool. At least now I know.
Right. Now you're like, now you can be a self-publisher. You can do other things. You can help other people do it. But it takes a long time to take it on. It isn't. You write it down on a piece of paper because you think it's a great idea. And that's just like one iota of what it takes to actually get it to where it's going to be.
There's so much more to writing a book. But I am so proud of what the book has become and what it represents. Because as far as I know, folks who are listening to this, please correct me if there's something out there. As far as I know, there hasn't been an anthology, a collection of stories of disabled entrepreneurs. I tried to search for one. As far as I know, please correct me, folks out there.
You won't need to correct her. She'll be correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's awesome. So I'm nosy. I mean, we're obviously going to keep talking about the book, but I'm nosy. What do you do as a day job? Because obviously this was the great idea that then took over your life for a while, and you had to become Superwoman.
My nights and weekends job was the book.
Yeah.
In job, I am a programmer for biotech and pharma.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, right. So you're a busy girl. It's not like you're like, oh, I just have free time all the time between customers or something.
No, it was an intentional step that needed to take. And it's so funny. I can only name a couple of points in my life wherein I was just dogged to finish it. I was so determined it had to be done. And if someone was to ask me why, my reason would be, I have no idea. I just know it does.
No, that's totally me. Like, I get that. You don't know what's like possessing you.
Well, you know,
but then you get like possessed.
I see so much of that in doing this podcast.
I was going to say, it's the same with the podcast, right? You're writing a book over time. We're writing an anthology every week, and the love you pour into it. But
I didn't know everything that goes into it when I started.
Yeah.
You know, I spent 40 plus years in radio, but this is different. So I have to learn all those different things. And, you know, I look at other podcasts and they'll have credits and it'll say, you know, writer and producer and editor. Yeah, these are all different people. I got one, you know.
I think you should make credits just so we can write your name really big.
Over and over.
And then my name can be really big on the, really small on the next one. And then there's her.
But the point is, like you say, Kat, I have no idea what drives me other than just, I set a goal to get it out. And I set some simple goals. I wanted to have tell a story every week, once a week, and be consistent with it. So if a guest falls through at the last minute, you know, we pivot and we'll come up with something. You know, we'll just
you're the guest.
Talk down rabbit holes for 30 minutes or whatever it is. But it just drives you to get it done. So
Absolutely.
So I was under the impression that you went out, interviewed these entrepreneurs, wrote stories, but they kind of wrote their own stories.
They all did.
Gotcha.
So the way that I came up with this, and this is really probably a recipe book for something that I'll do in the future. I came up with the prompts with one of my writing mentors for a while. And we had at least a framework so that the authors could write a very rough skeleton.
Yeah.
To begin. But you can imagine, I was so afraid at a certain point that it could go awry if I didn't give them the framework, because this was about celebrating entrepreneurship and disability. And so this came down to, let's come to a conclusion and a defined tone of the book.
Okay.
There was a point here, you guys will understand this, wherein folks wanted to talk about the anger, the simmering frustration that they had with the world. And I said, stop. That can be another book in the future. We want this to be about the professionalism. We wanted this to be a business card for your own endeavors. So we are going to take the professional route.
How they got it done.
Yes.
Right.
How they got in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to, we can have another volume about what it is to live with a disability, but that's a whole different story than, hey, you should have hired me. You didn't. So I made my own job that I do very well.
Watch me now.
Exactly. I always say, hold my beer.
And I have Angela, who will get magnificently along with you because she talks about baseball, burgers, and beer all the time.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, connect the dots. I'm happy.
Now you tell me if this is a spoiler alert, but are there some that have a kind of a hybrid between getting benefits and their business is doing well enough that, you know, they've got this other revenue stream? Some who have shifted over, left all the benefits behind and are totally independent of that?
Ooh, what a great question. And remember, not everyone is in the U.S.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
There's at least one person in there who's been able to straddle it. And there are others who actually have other means of making a living. There are others there who work full-time jobs and then have the side hustle going.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have the mix of different
myriad of things, right?
Yeah. Perfect. And I guess it opens up another conversation about you say other countries. I know I'm assuming we've got all these kind of benefits. Some other countries do, some don't. So, so you're telling all those stories in this book.
You're going to be able to how people found their way out of certain things. I'm from the Philippines. I'm Filipina. And one of our authors, Chrissy Vista, they don't get benefits per se. So that it works as an accessibility, a DEI consultant, if you will.
Okay.
Nice.
And apart from the requisite, this is a very country specific thing. There's a disability card that gives them certain discounts at establishments. As far as I know, Chrissy, correct me if I'm wrong when you listen to this, she doesn't get any other extra benefits. And then there is another person in the book, Danielle Ongo, out of Israel, who is not considered disabled enough to get certain disability benefits.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter what country you're from, but there's always what makes someone disabled from a governmental definition.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I'm always like, would you like to trade? Let's let you live it for 6 months, and then you decide what you're going to write on my paper, okay?
Well, I went and read that definition in the United States, and I'm not disabled. Per the language of that definition, I am not disabled.
Yep.
Like, okay.
Congratulations, Doug.
Yeah, thank you.
You are not.
Appreciate it. Can I get a badge?
Right? Can we get a sticker? But yeah, no, for sure.
That tattoo, I was a little bit afraid here.
I was just wondering if there was a time, because I'm sure there were nights where you're putting your head on the pillow and you're thinking, am I going to get this to completion? Right? You're human and you got to have those doubts, but you get up the next day and you just start fighting with it again. So was there a place where you really started to think, okay, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel? How was that? What was that moment?
Whew. I don't think there was ever one moment in time where I was like, yeah, we're gonna see this through. I think the realization that it was going to get done, truthfully, was the Saturday as I was eating a burger with my husband, and we were going through the formatting edits. We're talking at the end, folks. We're talking at what will the Kindle book look like and what will the accessible PDF look like? And we were doing final wordsmithing. That was when I realized, I think this is going to make it. The cover was mostly done, but you know how it is. There will be tweaks. Sometimes Amazon will just reject it, and you're trying to figure out how thick your spine is. There are just so many little stories in publishing that I now am a little bit more familiar with. But up until that point, Doug, I never gave myself the permission to say that it's going to go.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, just wait. Yeah.
Because stuff could still go wrong.
And at this point, is it published yet, or is there a date?
We released the book on April 30th, and for 5 separate days, we made the Amazon Kindle bestseller list in at least one category.
Amazing. Awesome. Look at that.
I fought for this, you guys, because there's anything I wanted for the authors to be able to say that they were proud of. They wrote a book, and it hit the bestseller list. Even for those 5 discrete days, they can say that.
Which is amazing. Like, the fact that they even were brave enough to put their story out there, if 10 people heard it, it's still amazing. But to really be able to do that, like, that's huge.
I'm so proud of them. I watched the Kindle list like a hawk. Screenshot. That's what happened.
Yeah, you're like, look at it.
So, a couple of different directions, but no, they're going to touch so many lives and change so many lives. When people read this and it sparks something in them to take that step. And then the other thing, maybe you can speak to that, and also just the feedback that you've gotten so far. What are you hearing back from people that have read it?
Whew, absolutely. So we currently have publicly 17 reviews. We have 1 4-star, the rest are 5 stars. And this is the human thing again. I was bummed when I saw the 4-star. Then I realized, you know what that means? That's not one of the advanced reviewers. That's not friends and family. That means people probably limited, read it, and gave us that review. And I became thrilled. The reviews have been so uplifting, especially for other people in the community, because again, it gives folks hope.
Yeah.
For the folks who are not in the disability community, it's been eye-opening. So the statements of, I was wondering why there was a description of a picture. And it wasn't until chapter 3 that I realized, oh, it's your equivalent of, they didn't say it in this way, alt text.
Yeah.
There was that piece of it. Or I didn't realize that a lot of disabled individuals had to become entrepreneurs because they didn't have the means to find employment themselves. And apologize, this might be an editing, but there is a train sometimes passing by. So you guys need to tell me if that is part.
Oh, we're good.
Excellent.
Oh, no, you're good.
Excellent. And then there was the review of, I am maybe a little bit disabled, but what if I was completely blind? How would my world be different?
Mm-hmm.
There are people discovering that every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I told that a few weeks ago on the podcast because when I went for my work trip, there was also a convention of blind people. And the way that the hotel coped with the help they needed was like amazing to watch in not the best way possible. Like I ended up jumping in sometimes and be like, can I read this to you? Like, I'll read it because they'd be like, well, why aren't you ordering? Well, duh. They can't see the menu, ding dong. Like somebody has to read it. You know what I mean? Like it's just young people that haven't been exposed. So it's not like rudeness. They just are ignorant in that way. But, you know, when you have a convention full of people that cannot see, it also creates a lot more challenges than 2 people or 1 person or whatever. They were not ready.
Yeah, my mind just went in 20 different directions when you told that story.
Yeah, your face was like, what?
I could tell.
Well, like, there's the lack of education.
Yeah.
There's the need for consulting. But it's so funny because when you really think about it, some of it is so practical. You do not need to be blind or low vision to just think, oh, wait, you can't see. How can I practically help you? Or someone in a wheelchair. Oh, there's a notch in the floor. I can help you navigate through it.
But don't you think you have that because of your brother? Like it's a sixth sense in some way for people. I feel like, because I feel like that's missing. It's just like with my nephew, who I love him to death, but he loves the internet and like he can talk to his friends all day on the internet, but you're like, order your food at the restaurant. He's like, no, thank you. I'm like, pretend your headset's on. So some of it is exposure, right? And like comfortability. So you have your brother and you're always kind of in defend and ready mode.
Yes.
Whereas if you're a quote unquote not exposed person, you might not be in defend and ready mode.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's socially awkward because I'll see someone who maybe has trisomy 21 and rather than feeling sad, I am cheering. And I know I'm the only one with this reaction, but I am so thrilled to see people who are out about and about in public spaces.
I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You just want to celebrate. Like you got out of bed. I sometimes understand how hard it was for you to get out of your house to be able to be here at this moment.
You know, I find it interesting when I go into a restaurant, I'm in a wheelchair, and in just the kind of diversity of how you're treated, you know, and it's generally kind, but there are the nuances that nobody else would notice, you know, because, you know, many times they'll ask, would you like me to move the chair? And I think that's training. I think so. I don't think that's intuitive. Or some people will just move the chair. Some people won't make any attempt to, I'll start to move the chair. Would you like help with that maybe? Or they'll jump in and then help you. But, it's like you say, it's this lack of training. So I find it fascinating when somebody will ask, you know, if you'd like to move the chair, because somehow that's top notch. You know, that's like gold standard. Somebody has been trained. Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, that is really nice.
So I'm curious too, when you read a review like that, do you wonder and can you find out how did they make their way to your book? You know, because it sounds like it's somebody that is not disabled. They've read the book. They have these comments, but something drew them to it.
It's so funny. These are actually friends of mine or literal friends who we voluntold, begged, pleaded to be able to do it. And some of them are like, I don't know. And it's so funny. The people who actually started to read it, first they were like, oh God, it's a book. I don't read anymore. I have enough reading at work. And then they fell into it.
Yeah.
I had a good friend of mine who said, I just wanted to read a couple of pages so, I would have something for a review. And then I ended up reading the whole book.
You're like, bravo to you.
Yeah.
Bravo to the author. Or this is the kind of book we need in the world, something uplifting. I heard that so many times.
That's amazing.
Like, oh my God, a positive book. Thank you. It's like, no. And for the record, I know there are some authors out there who are going to be listening to this. No, this is not because we wanted just inspiration, just the pity. This is actually celebration of humanity and resilience.
Yeah.
I'm
really important.
My stake in the ground.
That's really important.
Yeah. Because the hard work they went through is very real.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Not just to write the book, but to, to achieve the things they achieved.
Entrepreneurship in its own is a pain in the butt and like a blood, sweat, and tears and like consuming and all those things, right? It's not the best idea you could ever have. If you want a smooth life, I can say that.
It's a lonely road. It's a financially terrifying road. Yeah.
I get the question a lot, who listens to your podcast? And I don't have a definitive answer. I mean, I'm sure it's probably leaning heavily with the disabled community, but I don't know how many, able-bodied people who aren't friends of friends or friends of mine, that kind of thing that, who's finding it and what are they getting out of it,
Oh, can I take a stab at this? Because this is what I've been trying to get into, especially for folks out there who have businesses and are serving the disability community. When it came down to creating the customer avatars, if you will, for this book, I ended up with 3. And it's even in the back of the book. Number 1 would be people with disabilities who want to become entrepreneurs, who are dreaming about it and thinking, can I even do it?
Yeah. Number
2 would be friends and family of the community, because they want to figure out how to further support the community. How do they find businesses maybe, and then how can they further support? And number 3 would be the group of people who do not realize the innate value of marketing and selling to the disabled community. And they create materials that are inaccessible, not realizing what's in it for you in terms of money in your bank accounts.
Yeah,
for sure.
So what I would guess is, and I am only a guest on this podcast, but if anyone's listening out there, why don't you drop a line to Doug and Addie and say, hey, this is how I found you and this is how I'm involved. So let's do a little bit of surveying. That would be so cool to figure out.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Like we're being nosy, professionally nosy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it would help with the tone. I mean, I'd like to know who exactly I'm speaking to, and if it's totally disabled, do I want to change the tone of it so that it's more accessible to people that aren't disabled?
Yes.
You never know how to then digest that information and use it. Yeah.
Exactly. And just for edification for the low vision and to the blind out there, I am an Asian woman with humongous glasses and a shirt that looks like a peacock and shades of blue, ochre, and green.
Do me.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Do it all.
Do you want me to do Doug?
Oh, I'd love it.
Do it.
Okay. Doug, come back on the screen, please. Doug is a distinguished looking gentleman wearing headphones. He is wearing a blue shirt and he may have shaved his head. Doug, how does that sound?
Well, I like it better than most people say he's bald. That's what I say to him. I'm shaved.
And I must say, Doug, you have a very distinguished air about you, sir.
Wow.
Yes. He has ever since I was little.
And just to let you guys know, I have created graphics for the blind. And so it has been so fun for me to create descriptions of pictures, cartoons, and people's photos.
I think that must be fun, right? Because you have to do that for the blind, but also do it for someone like of your brother, or, you know what I mean? Like, how do you explain it to people that may not get it? If you're they're worthy of bigger concepts, if that makes sense, right? So I used to be a teacher. And I taught preschool and I taught middle school. And it's like, how do you make a topic? I hate it. Okay. I hate it when people say dumb down, right? Like that annoys the heck out of me because how do you just turn it so it's understandable to any population? Why do you have to call it dumbing it down?
Yeah.
Like, it's not dumbing it down. It's rotating it so it fits in their perspective. And that's,
It's tough. So I just had a conversation about this today.
Yeah.
Because all text is an art, not a science.
For sure.
Right? Let's stop from right there. And Miss Addie, if I was to give you advice,
yes,
I would say start with speaking to a fifth grader. That's what they say that the average American reading comprehension level is.
Yeah.
And so you go with the literals. Addie is a woman who has brown hair, wears brown glasses, and is wearing a dark green shirt.
Right.
And
that's super smart, right?
And
I just say that there's so much connotation.
Exact. And then you can go into a little bit, if you have more space on your alt text, you can go into, she looks very happy today to be doing her podcast on a Monday.
Yeah.
And then you can go into that. I have been told that I sometimes am very verbose because I want to inject personality into my descriptions. And some people, because people are different, including the blind, because they're individuals.
Right.
Yeah.
People want, just give me the gosh, literal description. And others like, no, tell me how they're feeling. So it really just depends.
Yeah, like
personality
their
type
full-face
test.
Emotion. Yeah, no, for sure, right? Yeah, if we all took a personality type test, like how closely would we bang up next to each other would be super interesting. Yeah, I was just saying that to my mom. I was reading a really good book and I said, one thing I love about myself is my imagination, because I don't just read the book, I step in the book. And that's why, like, you literally can talk to me while I'm reading. I don't hear you because I'm busy at the morgue or wherever I'm supposed to be in the book, right? But I realize that other people don't have that ability. Like, it's literally words on a page they have to get through.
I noticed that a lot of low vision and blind, almost blind, graphic designers and artists have that imagination. That what they can't see in the physical world, they can see in their mind's eye,
which is amazing.
Yeah,
is that incredible? That is something I will never be able to experience. But seeing the manifestation of it and seeing what the drawings look like and the art looks like. By the way, shameless plug here, Danielle. You know you are Danielle, who actually created the graphic to our book, is low vision. So I have the proof of our book.
Oh, cool.
And I've been trying to describe this. Watching the creation of this was akin to watching a Disney behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Wherein you get to see the pencil, and then they debated the themes for the colors because we wanted it to be professional. And then there was a debate for what the pop would be. It was orange. It was just so fascinating.
So there are colors that present professionalism, others that are fun, childlike, right? Do they have those palettes?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Doug, for the record, the shirt that you're wearing, which is close to a royal blue, would actually lay within the professional realm. Yes.
Oh, I have to remember that when I dress for the podcast.
Yeah, every day you must wear a blue shirt. No, I think that's fascinating too, because you think of how much we miss because we see. Because what our brain takes in, like, we just filter out a bunch of crap if we don't see it. But like a blind person, because I know Brian talked about this, that he sees so much more than we see. Yeah.
And you wonder if that's developed out of the need. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe we all have some level of that ability, but when you really need it, you know, to become a graphic artist, then you really develop that fully.
It pours out.
Yeah.
I noticed just from the blind that they are definitely to the nuanced speech patterns and also the tone of voice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you can't watch me smile. You hear the smile in my voice.
The intonations in there, they can hear the lilts, the peaks and valleys of speaking. It's fascinating stuff. And again, I don't think I'll ever be able to understand that fully, that experience.
Yeah. Well, you know,
nor did you know that was going to be your experience.
I think we all experience it, first of all, because I've heard many times that communication is only 10% verbal, 90% is nonverbal.
That's a good point.
That's why I say I've got closed captioning on my face sometimes that I can't turn off. You know, so I'm saying the nice thing that you can read the thing on. What a dummy! Don't do that, Doug. Don't do that.
Like those T-shirts that say "My mood rings on my face."
Yeah, exactly. So, so where can we get the book?
Absolutely. So I'm sorry, the title is very long, but it is available on Amazon. And also we are launching the book in accessible PDF on our website. The title of the book, and everyone has complained about it, but I love the title. We voted on it, is Trailblazing and Transforming. And if you just looked at Trailblazing and Transforming, you will find our book. The rest of the title is Success Stories of Entrepreneurs with Disabilities.
Awesome.
It seems like everything's necessary in there. I like it.
It was good for SEO, but it also is indicative of what the book is about.
Yeah.
Right.
We have a website, disabledfounders.com. You can buy the book.
Oh, that's great.
There you go.
That's amazing.
Very nice.
Now, do you have plans to do like a second volume or a follow-up? Like you said, this was 12 people and 12 stories.
I do have plans, but I'm going to take the requisite break. We're also putting together the audiobook, and 90% of the authors want to read their own chapter.
Amazing. Yeah.
So, but we have quite a number of people who are blind. So it is a matter of how they're going to do it. And spoiler alert, there is a way to do it now with AI that you speak enough 2 minutes worth, I think, of language, and then they can emulate you, which has terrifying implications, but I won't dwell on that right now. What I will dwell on is 90% of the authors want to read their own chapters. So that will be cool. That will be coming up next. And we do have a book reading set up. I will send the two of you information on that if anyone is out near the Bay Area in California. On the anniversary of ADA in the US, the American Disabilities Act, we have a book reading out in Menlo Park.
Amazing.
Kat, thank you for stopping by and sharing all about the book. That was wonderful. And a departure from what we normally do. So I appreciate that. We're trying to lean into doing more kind of topic-based episodes. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you. What a fun interview this was. Thank you for having me. And for everyone out there, you guys can contact me on disabledfounders.com if you have any questions. And otherwise, please send these two wonderful hosts of our podcast how you found them.
Ever wish you could tour the world's most enchanting wineries in just 5 minutes? Join Forrest Kelly on the Best 5-Minute Wine Podcast, your passport to quick, captivating journeys through global vineyards. Each week, uncover hidden travel gems, savor expert insights, and collect irresistible wine conversation starters. All in the time it takes to enjoy a glass. Named one of Wealth Magazine's best travel podcasts, it's the perfect pairing for your busy life. Tune in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or visit thebestwinepodcast.com. The Best 5-Minute Wine Podcast. Sip-sized stories, full-bodied flavor.
From the UGYAR Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
Kat Paz this week on Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
So if you've listened to the interview, you probably already know that Kat and I have become best friends. She's just so bubbly and effervescent. And when she tells the story of like defending her brother and going to like anger and feeling like this was just her passion, like she would do it despite having a full-time job, despite having a family and all these things. Like in her talking, I see my sister. And I think that's one reason why I wanted to like step through the computer and hug her, because A, I love her energy, but B, it's beautiful to see another sibling that was like, no, I'm going to do whatever I can for his life to be better, or to make people understand, because with his like level of cognition, obviously he can't do it in the same way she can. And the fact that she was like, I don't care that I have all this stuff going on. This is like my lifeblood and my passion and my gift to him. So of course,
Yeah.
Of course I fell in love with her.
And I would advise people, if I may be so bold, because you run into that situation from time to time in a restaurant where some child is, let's say, acting out. But just with a little bit of observation, you can tell whether it's a child that's out of control, it's lacks some discipline, or if it's somebody that's got some cognitive issues, or, there's those sensitivities that come with some levels of autism, and it can cause a total meltdown sometimes with the least bit of, whatever agitates them, and just show a little grace. Don't stare. Don't, let the family deal with it the best they can, and don't add to, whatever that situation is. And, by staring and causing them embarrassment on top of whatever they're, they're
on top
through.
of the challenge that's going on.
Yeah. Like I say, it doesn't take much to just kind of notice this is something different, and let's give them a little bit of privacy.
And or if there is the space and the person seems open to it, like thanking that person for like how much work they put into their family member or their child, whatever, right? Because it's unsung hero work that you took them out anyways, knowing there could be a meltdown. And now you like gracefully handled this, and it helps them be seen, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's two sides to the coin. Don't make it worse, but also don't be afraid to see people that probably never get seen because they're just a bother or a complication to your day.
Yeah. And I've been lucky enough to witness that a couple of times with, like you say, hey, those people know when they're leaving and going to dinner, this is a possibility, Yeah. And that because you see how well they handle it. They're unflustered.
They're on it.
It doesn't bother them a bit. They know how to deal with it and not make it any worse. And they get them calm down, and it's something to see. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents there. So if I mentioned Randy, we got him on the website, and then a few more resources. I stumbled upon Triumph Foundation. I may reach out to Andrew and just get his permission, but they have an awesome resources page. It is amazing. Yeah, I'm thinking about just linking their resources page to ours. And I'll ask him, because it would be a lot of work to get all those resources, but.
Can our resource pages hold hands, Andrew? Yeah, we're gonna be friends.
We're going to piggyback on yours. Yeah. So, all right. Next week we have Ryan Chavarria on, and he is another member of the wheelchair football team from the LA Chargers that we have talked to a number of the members of, and he's another, just a strong advocate and great ambassador and a mentor and all of that. So we've seen it several times on our own. So wanted to bring him to the show and share it with you. So we'll do that next week.
Yes, we will.
All right. You got anything exciting coming up this week? Going home,
working, eating lots of food. I have my food list, my California food list, which I must fulfill. Because last week we ate, there was a lot of planned meals and things for celebration. So this week I'm like, okay, I need clam chowder. I need.
So some things you missed.
Eating.
Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's my list of eating through the week. How about you?
What is coming up this week? Kind of more of the same. I'm trying to remember if there's any big highlights coming up, but nothing comes to mind. But went to another car show yesterday, and that was fun. It's the old.
Doug's middle name is Car Show.
That's what it is. Well, I started off, and I don't know if I've shared this. I started off by putting on a car show myself for my Kiwanis Club that I was involved with, and I just met these folks that are wonderful human beings. I mean, just selfless. I don't even know. The list is. Just would go on and on and on. The first meeting I went to, I shared my car show and unsolicited, I didn't say, and I need help. People just came up to me after the meeting. Right. If you need any help, let me know, and it's just, and those people are still my friends today. Some probably close to 20 years later. So I go hang out with them and, tell the same stupid stories over and over again and all that, as old people do. Just ask my daughter. Okay. So
Right.
I'll give you an update next week what the week turned out to be. All right. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Doug Vincent, along with Addie Rich from the Aguiar Professional Training Studio. This has been Walk and Roll Live. Disability Stories, Life Limitless.